I'm going to do something here in the first hour in a moment that I've been very much wanting to do, and I've been pursuing, as a lot of you know, and that is the story of Bigfoot. So I've been looking for somebody who knows something about Bigfoot, and Ray was going to be with us tomorrow evening, but I've moved him up to this evening for the latter reasons regarding what's going to occur tomorrow night. And Ray was kind enough to jump up to the position, and so in a moment we're going to a man who heads the Western Bigfoot Association in Oregon. His name is Ray Crowe, and he'll be with us in just a moment. Now, I'm going up to Oregon, and I'm not sure where in Oregon, we'll ask, a place where Ray Crowe is. He heads the Western Bigfoot Association. Ray, good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Art?
Just fine. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. Ray, I have been desperately seeking information, good information, on the whole Bigfoot thing. We've heard so much about it. I've even got a Bigfoot sound, a yell, that purports to be Bigfoot, and I frankly think might be. I don't know. First of all, Ray, how did you get involved? What's the Western Bigfoot Association, and what's it all about?
Well, Western Bigfoot Society is just one of those things that popped up out of nowhere. I have a little used bookshop, and one of my customers was interested in Bigfoot, and managed to get me interested in it back in the summer of '91.
Wow. And
they took me out into the field, and right off the bat, I was finding things. As a matter of fact, so many that I thought it was being set up. But I finally came to the conclusion, no, it was just coincidental, and there was something out there doing strange things.
You mean they thought you thought they were like the old gold prospectors that would scatter nuggets out in the field?
Yes, exactly. But the group that took me out was the kind that they like to ride back and forth in their cars with their guns and things like that, and dressed in camo gear. And I'd been a naturalist most of my life, and I like to just get out and snoop around on foot. And so I had them deliberately leave me behind, which is something if they were setting me up they wouldn't have known about. But they weren't gone 15 minutes before I found a set of Bigfoot tracks going down the side of the road. And that's when I thought I was being set up. But then again, I found...
They chose the location, right?
Yes, And there was a little campsite, and it was way back up in the hills, and we'd stayed overnight there. This is up near Yale Reservoir in Washington. Incidentally, you're talking to Portland, Oregon.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes, and so I found a game trail. They told me to watch the game trails because the Bigfoot likes to eat deer and elk and things, and... right off the bat there, I found trees that were broken at heights that didn't really appear to be something a human would have done, and then I found a big long hair on one of the trees. And to this day, those people won't talk to me because I kept the hair, which has made me think, well, gee, I might very well have a good hair. There are ways this day and age to test these things to see whether they're good or not, but gee, I'm getting an awful lot of mileage out of this one. I hate to give it to some scientist to cut up and lose in his back drawer.
Well, as a matter of fact, there's some scientist, it's a wire story, that is now, they are testing some Bigfoot fur or hair or whatever you want to call it.
Well, yes and no. The problem with this is the fellow that selected the hair was on Good Morning America once and said that he faked tracks. And so that, we immediately wonder, well, I wonder where the hair came from. He submitted some hair once before that turned out to be synthetic fibers.
Right.
And so, we're just holding our breath. We'll wait and see. Even the worst drunk, hoaxer, drug addict, whatever, could see a Bigfoot and could find Bigfoot evidence. So, we're not writing him off completely, but we're keeping a pretty jaundiced eye on him.
Okay. I take it you are... sort of even though you speak on the subject, you're a little bit skeptical, or skeptical at least, of the claims made by many people in the field about Bigfoot.
Yes, I'm. As a matter of fact, I'm very skeptical, but I listen to everything, and I don't let my skepticism overrun when I'm talking to somebody.
No, I think it's healthy.
I just let them like they're telling me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a newsletter, and then I write all these things up in my newsletter, and I let my readers decide, well, hey, is this a good report or not? if something hokey shows up, I'll try to include that too.
All right, well, Ray, what is the best evidence for so far that you've seen, and you pay attention to all of this, for the existence of this creature?
Well, so far right now, I suppose everybody's seen the Roger Patterson film from October 1967 of the Bigfoot running across the creek bed.
That's right.
And we all think that's a good photo, and that's real good evidence that Bigfoot actually exists. And then we go on from there, and there's footprints found all over, hair, dropping samples. I've had a lot of hair samples come in, though, and I keep having them checked all the time, and, they're bear or horse or dog or something like that, nothing that really stands out as being Bigfoot. Same thing with fecal droppings that come in, there's just no way of checking them. What we need is for somebody that sees a Bigfoot to just run up and grab a handful of hair out of him. Then we'll have the evidence we need.
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, I mean, joshing, of course. We do have one person that's oriented in that direction. I don't know, I suppose a lot of your listeners have heard of Peter Byrne before.
That's a familiar name, yeah.
Okay, he's very well funded from the Boston Academy of Science, has a lot of really high-tech equipment. And his idea is using motion detectors and infrared cameras and things that transmit back to the home base to pick up a Bigfoot spoor or something moving through the woods that'll move his motion detectors. It's over 300 pounds. And they'll sight one of these things. Well, they have a contract with Hillsboro Helicopter here in Oregon, and what they will do is go up with one of those infrared devices and hunt for the creature. Well, assuming they do find one, then they use the geosatellite location devices to track its movements with, and then they'll try and on the ground get a choke point. That is, force it into some place where they can get close to it.
Oh, that's a really serious effort.
And they have a very sophisticated dart device. It's not the kind that knocks them out. It's a hollow one. And what they want to do is take a tissue sample. And this is a device that's been used in Southeast Asia on orangutans and doesn't seem to hurt the creatures at all and seems to be very reliable. In this case, and then we'll have our sample. That's the equivalent of running up and grabbing a handful of hair, of course. We really wish them the best of luck on this, and we support them all we can. I have an awful lot of reports that come into my organization, which is Western Bigfoot Society, incidentally.
Thank you.
And I'm the director. And we're just really, really hoping that something comes. He has another year and a half to run on this project, and everything's in place that we know of, and reports keep coming in all the time. We don't know whether they're good or whether they're bad.
All right, that's one approach. That is a non-lethal approach to Bigfoot. There is a scientist up in Washington State, and I think it was one of the Seattle papers, and then otherwise in other papers, there was a report that suggested he's saying, look, the first Bigfoot any hunter, anybody finds ought to be shot and killed.
The second one.
And the second one, when the second one is shot and killed, whoever did it ought to be hung. He's saying for the sake of science that at least one Bigfoot ought to be shot, killed, and I presume dissected and examined at great length. And that's the reasoning behind what he's saying. What do you think about that?
Well, we're talking to Dr. Krantz, of course,
that's right.
And he's very well known, and his opinions are very well known. We just think they're rather outdated is all. Back in the 1930s and so forth, if you wanted to find a new panda or a new whatever, you always brought in a corpse and dissected it.
Sure.
But today things have changed a lot, and people's attitudes have changed a lot towards things out in the wild. And there's a very good probability this thing is human, which brings up a whole new story, of course, in the event that you killed one.
Oh, it certainly would.
Pardon?
It certainly would. It'd be called murder.
Yes, we'll get to that. You got plenty of time. As a matter of fact, I got a pretty good story to tell you on that, too.
Okay.
Anyways, there's an awful lot of people like Peter Byrne. Peter Byrne used to be a tiger hunter way back down when.
Well, no kidding.
But he reversed around and has become a strict conservationist. He's just returned recently from Nepal, where he's been working on a wildlife reserve. And I had a hint of he was chasing down people who were poisoning tigers and such. But he doesn't want to see one of these things harmed in any way, shape, or form. That's the reason the dart approach. Many other people have thought of tranquilizing him in the past, but that could be very dangerous also.
Well, tranquilizers, I think, have to take into account the mass, weight, size of the animal.
Exactly, and if you're wrong, then the animal could very well die, or it could get pretty pissed at getting darted and chase you. I don't know if I can say that on the radio or not.
You can, yeah.
Too late anyways, but it could come right after you, too. So we tell everybody, just when you see something like that, photograph it, look at everything you can, try to communicate if you can. Oddly enough, these things are incredibly curious. I have many, many reports. As a matter of fact, my first story, I was told by this old fellow up in Carson, Washington, Datus Perry is his name, that if you take a stick and you rap it on a stump or a tree and make a knocking noise, and you do it in a pattern like 3 raps and pause and 2 raps and pause, you'll get an answer. And so I spent all day wandering around the woods feeling like a fool doing this one day. But all of a sudden I got an answer. And it just floored me. I was just really shocked. And I've mentioned this to several other people since then, and they've had the same results. Quite a few people, as a matter of fact. And I found that there was a society at one time in California, the Bay Area group, where they've done the same thing. And they'd even written a paper on it. A fellow had made a big drum-like thing and taken it up into the woods and banged it around and had replies. Something to do with the curiosity of the things, or maybe it's some communication thing that they recognize themselves and use. We just don't really know.
All right. Well, what about this? What you alluded to the fact that Bigfoot might be human. What exactly do you think Bigfoot is?
Okay, now my personal opinion, and there's lots and lots of people that disagree with this, Dr. Krantz in particular. I think it's an early man, and I'm going for a relict Homo erectus. And I have a lot of reasons for that.
A relic, wait, a relic Homo erectus.
Yes, it's something that's they were disappeared from our scene 500,000 years ago. And scientists believe they're extinct. But there's a lot of us that believe, well, there's always a few of them hanging around still in the Caucasus Mountains, in Asia, even in Europe.
Are you talking now about an earlier version of man?
Java ape man, or Peking man, was a Homo erectus. I think most people are familiar with those terms, although we have 500,000 years of evolution to account for. That's why I say a relic. One of the main reasons I think this is that the Patterson creature that we were talking about earlier is a female and has breast. Humans have breast, apes do not. Dr. Krantz believes the thing is a relic ape called Gigantopithecus that supposedly went extinct about the same time. I don't agree with him. A lot of other people do agree with him, and I get into a lot of good arguments from time to time. There will be no way of proving that until that dart actually gets into one of them.
Would that one moving video we have lend itself toward one theory or the other?
The Patterson one.
That's right.
Yeah, the thing has breast, and that's my main thing from it. There's a lot of other, one of the arguments is, well, if it's an early man, why is it hairy? Because early men were great brave hunters, and they chased antelope over the plains until they dropped, and therefore they lost their hair and became man. But now science is beginning to look just exactly to the opposite. He thinks those early people were scavengers and not hunters. Very well, they might be hairy. The size, Bigfoots are reported to be pretty good size. That one there in California was 7'3", I believe. But then Homo erectus is a pretty good guy. Leakey has uncovered one in Africa, Narcomi boy, I think they call it. He was a 6-footer, and generally they're 6-footers.
Well, so, I'm 6 feet.
Okay, right, And which isn't really, when you consider our average human span from some of our basketball players and their feet, you can see, well, there's no big stretch of the imagination to get a Bigfoot out of it. It's 7 foot.
Interesting. You describe them then really as humans. In other words, I almost imagine that a Bigfoot could either be part of society or just be a human being, not caring one bit for society, and living in the wild as other animals live in the wild.
Yes and no, but we're talking about two different species.
All right.
Like, for instance...
Ray, hold your thought. Ray, hold your thought. We're going back to Ray Crowe, who is the director of the Western Bigfoot Society, is in Portland. We're talking about, Ray, what Bigfoot is. And I had a guy joking, obviously, I think, last night, send me a message. And the message was, Art, I'm a Bigfoot, and I shave every day before I go to work. My whole body. Well, if a Bigfoot was hairless, would a Bigfoot, could a Bigfoot, in your opinion, walk the streets of our cities and not be known or discerned?
Well, I think you can put a suit on him probably, and he would probably get by as long as nobody spoke to him. I don't think they have an oral language like we do. Their throats, I don't think, are built for it. But yes, I think he can put a hat on and a suit and a tie, and he can walk down the street if he was all shaved, clean shaved. But that just gets a bit away from...
well, it does, but I was just trying to find out
like, for instance, I say they're a man, but that's like a deer and an elk are in the same in a family of animals.
Right.
But they're completely different. They have different habits, and they do different things, and they have different languages between them, whatever. The same is like with early humans and ourselves. We're not. We couldn't. I don't think we could breed. That's not for sure yet. And what I'm trying to make you see, there is a big distinction. And the thing I'd mentioned to you before about what I was talking about was, in Skamania County in the state of Washington, it's against the law to kill a Bigfoot. And the reason they enacted that law was to keep people from running up all around in the woods with guns and so forth. But it's sort of been picked up as something that should be applied everywhere in the country. But to put this to a test once, we thought it'd be fun. We went to Carson, Washington, to the Bigfoot campground, and we had a meeting. This is last August. And our meeting was a mock trial. And the actual brunt of the whole thing was that the law reads that if the thing is an ape, and you convince the coroner that it's an ape, then it's only a gross misdemeanor to kill one. But if it is indeed proved to be human, then you're going to be bound over for murder. And so we had one of our members, Mr. Larry Lund, who's probably listening in. He volunteered to be the killer. And we got a stuffed gorilla costume and put it in a costume, and a bagpiper piped it in, and the police brought him in handcuffs. We had a local sheriff was in on it, and we had, as a matter of fact, we had 3 judges show up.
Wow, that's kind of like it's kind of like the modern version of the Scopes trial, almost, isn't it?
Well, exactly. With the exception at this particular time, we had OJ on. And so we modeled it sort of after that. We had a pretty good judge up there, Barney, I can't think of his last name now. At any rate, he did a really excellent job, and we ended up with a hung jury, so I won't leave everybody hanging here. But we had 2 DNA experts, both of them PhDs, came in and testified. We had biologists, police officers, forest people.
Sounds like the DNA evidence didn't impress your jury any more than that of the OJ.
Well, our prime one came in. She had all big models of DNA and charts and graphs, and I think it really went over the head of most of the jury.
Same, just like the OJ trial.
And the other one came in and says, well, more or less like with the OJ type thing, that hey, these tests were all proven to be invalid from that one place. Consequently, these are all in doubt too, which completely threw our other prosecutor for a loop. Speaking of which, she was a very attractive young lady that flew up from Los Angeles to be our prosecuting attorney.
Wasn't Marcia?
That's what everybody called her. But yeah, so that's what I would say. There were a lot of comparisons with the OJ trial here. But the point being is that this thing is thought of. People don't really know yet exactly what it is, whether it is an ape or whether it is a man. Grover Krantz wants to think that it's an ape because then it is okay to take a specimen to collect one.
Right. Oh, of course.
Whereas if it turns out to be human, then of course that'd be out-and-out murder then.
Right. Scientific curiosity turns into murder.
Right. And I'm sure if there ever was brought to trial, it'd end up being a circus at any rate. But still, the teeth are there, and maybe one of these days some hunter is going to do that, go up and knock one of them things off and say, hey, here I am, I've killed one of them things. And, of course, immediately somebody will confiscate the body, and it'll end up being dissected, and he won't get anything out of it other than...
it'll probably be taken to an Air Force base somewhere.
That's possible, too. It's possible that's already been done. But,
it is. It really is. Of course, it'd be an air base in Ohio, no doubt.
Yes, I have a tremendous amount of reports come in, and they're scattered all over the map in terms of what this creature is. I have people that believe in underground caves where they live as a society. I just had a report come in not too long back of a flying saucer near Atascadero, California that landed. Two of these things got out, took soil samples, got in and flew off again.
Huh.
This is one of the, being a skeptic, this is one of the reports. I report them faithfully, but I always have a lot of doubts about them.
All right, well, I've got one for you, Ray.
Yeah.
Stand by just a second. I want you to listen to this, Ray. Somebody that I respect very, very much, Linda Howe, who appears on my Sunday show, Dreamland, got what seems to be a very, very credible tape of an alleged Bigfoot scream or yell actually recorded in the forest. And it was quite a long story that I'm not going to burden you with right now, Ray, but here is that sound. Now, I'd be very much disinclined to run up and grab a hunk of hair of that thing.
As a matter of fact, I know the fellow who took that tape originally.
Oh, you do?
Los Angeles.
You do? What can you tell us about it? What do you know?
He thinks it's very good. As a matter of fact, I've had other tapes come in, two other tapes come in, and the sounds are very similar. There's another, both these are from Oregon, but then I have another one from North California, and they're still very similar. I think they got an actual creature in there. I think it's a good tape.
Yeah, so do I.
The one that's from North California, they had done a bunch of tests in laboratories and so forth on it, and there were some pitches and things in there that just go outside of the range of anything that anybody else, any other animal normally makes. This is one of the, I don't know if it's a communication thing, that is, here I am, where's my mate, or this is my territory, I don't want anybody else here. Even the robin will do that.
Of course.
So, there again, it's a matter of we've got to learn more about these things.
All right, toward that end, and I'm probably asking you to speculate or guess now, but what else can you do when you're talking about Bigfoot? Is there any guess, has anybody made any guess about how many there might be? What is the population of Bigfoot? I mean, it's silly to ask, I know, because we can barely get our hands on one or can't. But what do you think it might be?
We've made a lot of approaches. We've done some analysis of population studies of gorillas and tried to compare them and things like that. And supposedly the best guess right now is Dr. Krantz's, and I'll go along with that there, for every 10 or 100 bears, there's one Bigfoot, which would mean across the nation there's thousands of them, because these things occur in every state. We have reports from Florida and Pennsylvania are a couple of the biggest report areas, and then out on the West Coast, of course, Oregon, Washington, and California. But there, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, you wouldn't expect them out in these dry areas.
No, you wouldn't.
But there again, it's because we have this thing in our head that, hey, these are deep forest things. The only place they live is in virgin forest. And that's not true. They like the secondary areas best. They come into the outskirts of communities, raid garbage cans, do all kinds of stuff like that, especially if it's a bad winter and they're hungry.
Sounds like what a bear would do.
Exactly. How you can pretty much pattern these things after the bears, with the exception that they're a whole different critter. Right now, we have a sort of a stroke of luck going. There's a town called Molalla, Oregon, recently in the news from all the flooding and stuff.
Oh, yes.
But anyway, on the Molalla River south of town, there's one of the residents down there, and I don't know what his reasons are, but he's been putting cabbages and apples out for these things. Consequently, well, they're not really tame, but we get an awful lot of reports out of that area, and they seem to be good reports. We're getting them from responsible people who seem to know what they're doing. And they're going out there. At any rate, most recently, well, it'll be December now, was the last report, and the thing, it was pouring rain in the campground, and the thing was standing behind a tree, just staring at some campers, and stayed there for quite a while until one of the campers got up and walked towards it, and it faded back into the woods again.
There was also, Ray, wasn't there a recent, I can't remember whether it was a hard copy or one of those shows, they were doing a Hollywood shoot.
Yes.
And they were inside the car, and they filmed this creature which walked across, you know, what we saw as the screen. They were shooting through the car window. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, very familiar. As a matter of fact, we studied that tape very closely. We had the original, quite a bit of different language than what they had on TV on hard copy.
I can imagine.
But the point is if you look at it real close, it almost seems like it's baggy in the legs. The feet are white. Our impression is that it's wearing tennis shoes. We don't think too much of that film. It might very well be real, but I don't think so. As a matter of fact, to tell the truth, the news media isn't really very discriminating. They're pretty sensationalistic, actually. So if something is reported on the newspaper or the TV or something like that, to your listeners, you know, I'd take very seriously the possibility of being hoaxed.
All right, let me extend that now. There is a fellow named Cliff Crook.
Yes, there's another one. The shadows go all different ways.
Well, let me set it up for the people.
Okay,
I've got a photograph.
All right.
It is Cliff Crook's photograph. I guess he says he bought it from somebody.
Yes.
And it shows what looks like an ape with no neck. It's almost like the neck is connected directly to the body, and the arms are long, and it's hairy, and I know that you've seen it, and it's a fairly sharp, clear photograph of something weird. And what is it that you've made out of that? We
think it's a model of some kind. There's all kinds of things that don't add up in that. For instance, it was supposedly taken in the summer, but the trees in the back don't have any leaves on it, like it was late fall or stuff. Some of the shadows don't match up. That is, they go one way and not the other way. Some of the grass in front of the thing, just normal grass, is knee-high, meaning that, hey, this is more probably just a model of some kind. We don't go along with that one at all either.
All right. Now, despite the fact that you looked at some of these things that have really made the headlines, and you come away doubtful about them, you still have a basic belief that the Bigfoot thing is real, don't you?
Exactly right. The problem is about 90% of the reports that come in are hoaxes, errors, one thing or another. But that still doesn't mean I don't pay any attention to them, because I know there are some of those reports that are good, and we do our best to investigate them all. But you never know. For instance, the Peter Byrne that I was talking about earlier once told me a story that he'd investigated of a state policeman that had come and told him about a Bigfoot sighting. Well, he went back with the state policeman, and the policeman was very embarrassed because there was just a big black stump there. Point being is that had he not gone to investigate that, then it would have gone down as a good sighting just because it was a state policeman. And so there are good stories and there are going to be poor stories. That's why I say even drunk or dope addict or whatever, they could see one just as well as anybody else.
Sure.
We just have to look at the stories. We have one just came in recently, and we'll be going to investigate that very soon. As soon as the roads are open again, they're all
flooded out.
Landslides closed the roads east of Estacada, and this is where a couple had gone into an old mining tunnel, and they were just poking around, and here was one of these things inside the front entrance of it. This is just east of the town of Estacada in Oregon. And that was, let me glance at my note here. That was January the 2nd. We want to go up there and check that one out real close. They reported also that there was a nest or a bed inside made of sticks and moss and ferns. We'd like to check that out.
What do we know about the habitat of Bigfoot? Is it a nesting kind of thing, do you believe, or lives in caves, or generally in the open, or what's the best guess?
Very, very mixed. We get reports of all these things, and it's hard to nail them down. That's why I'd like to nail some of these I have a lot of bed reports, for instance, where they've done this, on sticks with ferns and moss and things. So I'm pretty much think that's what they're doing. There's other reports, though, that tell the things just in the snowstorms, just buckling up on their knees and hunching their back and waiting out the snowstorm. So, and in terms of caves, I don't really get many good cave reports. This will be, that's one of the reasons we want to check this one out, because it might very well be a good cave report. But mostly, even then, they're not deep caves like they live underground, but they'll be inside the lip or a rock overhang or something to keep out of the weather.
Do you think Bigfoot would regard modern man as a predator?
I'm sure every animal does if he was capable of regarding man as a predator. I'm sure many instances where people have taken pot shots at him. As a matter of fact, we've often wondered, well, gee, what would be the attitude of a Bigfoot with a .22 shell in his shoulder towards white people then?
Poor,
hunters.
Very poor. Very
right, And every now and then I do get unsubstantiated reports where these things are actually hurting people. But those reports are just really tough to substantiate.
Well, what advice would you give?
Well, that was a bear that hurt him.
Okay, what advice would you give somebody if you actually in the woods or wherever else, even out in the open, encountered one of these creatures?
Treat them like any other wild animal, especially a bear, but don't run away. Study it. Like even if you run from a bear or any wild animal, there's a good chance they'll chase you. Whereas if you just stand still and ignore them or look the other way, don't stare them in the eyes, but take in all the detail you can. It'll be a unique experience if you run across one of these creatures.
And try to remember what you can as a good witness.
Yes, exactly. And make some notes: time of day, what the weather was, how long the creature's hair was, the shape of its head, of its eyes, things like that.
One other quick thing. I had multiple reports that Dan Rather, on his nightly newscast on CBS the other night, twice, once at the beginning of the program, once at the end, made a statement that Bigfoot was being added to the endangered species list. Had you heard that?
I've heard this, and I've heard that Dan Rather said that, and I've talked to several people about it, and so far the best I can get is until they prove it exists, they can't put it on the endangered species list. But, you know, there might have somebody else might have done it anyways. I don't really know. We haven't substantiated that
Would you say that there is enough proof of the existence of Bigfoot, even just by tales and photos and some moving video, to justify, if you could do it, would you put Bigfoot on endangered species list?
That's a tough one to answer. I just don't really know, Art. Like we say, there's probably thousands of them. Once you put something out, you bring it to official notice, then museums are going to want to get out there, and naturalists are going to want to get out there and poke around in their private lives, which may or may not be good.
It's true. Ray, listen, yes. We're out of time, and okay. I want to tell the audience, all we've done is give them a little tease. You're the guy I wanted for Bigfoot, and I've got you.
Okay, can I give a plug?
We're going to have you on April 14th on Dreamland.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take
Thank
care
you very much.
That's Ray Crowe.